When you're tall, bulky, with sharp eyes and intimidating looks, you think you own the world. The world looks like a playground. But you step out of the cocoon and cross the side, only then you know if you can leave the trail. But is it enough? Well, in the premium SUV segment, these are some very key elements that the customer is looking for. And who rules this segment? Well, Toyota Fortuner ever since it was launched. A lot of SUVs have tried to dethrone the Fortuner. There's the Endeavour, there's the Renault Koleos, there's the Honda CR-V, there's the Mitsubishi Pajero. The Fortuner still retains its crown and it is due for an upgrade very soon. So is the Endeavour. Now another attempt is being made by Chevrolet with this all-new Trailblazer. It's due for launch early next month and today we are out to drive it to see how much of an impact can it make in the segment. This new Trailblazer looks huge and rugged, but at the same time, it's not as boxy or straight in design. It's heavy in terms of design from the front, with the air dam interrupted with the Chevy logo. It has a neatly sculpted bumper with fog lamp inserts. Though it might seem very tall, but actually this Trailblazer is 2 mm shorter in height than the Fortuner, but is 183 mm longer than it. And yes, it is quite a long car. The skid plates further add to the ruggedness of this American off-roader. But the Indians love the chrome and bling, and sadly there isn't much of that on the Trailblazer. There is some chrome on the grille and fog lamps, but not enough. The side profile also looks a bit plain. The sheer size sure is intimidating, but the design isn't. Even the alloys don't make much of an impression. Move to the rear and the lamps and rear windshield flow well into the body. There's the Chevrolet emblem right in the center and badging on both sides. And that's pretty much what you get on the rear. Now the Trailblazer boasts of best in segment ground clearance at 241 mm, which is 20 mm more than the Fortuner. Well, it looks butch, it looks like a true SUV, but the sad part is that Chevrolet is only bringing the 4x2 version to India, no 4x4 on the cards. It is a tall car and watch me climb into it. Quite a climb, very high car. Well, it is being offered with a 2.8 litre 4-cylinder diesel motor only, 200 horsepower of sheer power, 500 Nm of torque. Seems like a very powerful engine. Now let's take it on the road and see how it fares there. Now it might be offered only in a 4x2 version, but doesn't mean it's only meant for tarmac. In fact, on broken roads, the car is quite at ease too. It derives huge advantage from the massive ground clearance and 18-inch tires. The Trailblazer can take a lot of bad road with comfort. As long as you are not headed for some serious off-roads, this one will suffice. Though the rear seat passengers will feel a lot of vertical movement and uneasiness in the cabin, especially on bad roads. But for that once-in-a-while trip to your village or the weekend drive to the unexplored, this SUV can manage pretty much. Its sheer size and width might pose as a problem on narrow country roads, so make sure when you head out, you know what route to take. And once you leave the country roads behind and come back into the concrete jungle, the Trailblazer will continue to impress you. Well, this is a very rev-happy unit. 500 Nm of torque is a lot of torque. And this torque comes in really handy for those quick cuts and corners and maneuvers in the city. थोड़ा सा gap हुआ और गाड़ी निकाल ली फटाफट. It comes quite handy there. It will come very handy if you decide to take this 4x2 version. You want to get a little bit of adventurous. Don't get stuck though, because remember this is a 4x2, not a 4x4. But if you decide to get a bit adventurous, that torque can come in handy in a tricky situation. The steering on the new Trailblazer is a tad heavy. Well, if this car is being driven around in the city, it won't be very easy to make a quick cut or take a U-turn, because it will require a lot of effort from the driver. However, when the car picks up speed, the veering does weigh up, which is a positive side on the car, but at lower speeds, it does feel like too much effort is going into it. It's a typical SUV. You sit very high up, you get a very commanding view of the road, which is a fantastic thing, which is a pure SUV trait. And the seats for both driver and co-driver up front are electric. There is a fair amount of body roll for the second row and third row passengers. So if you're traveling full house, yes, the third row might feel a little bit of discomfort when you're taking sharp corners. Well, the 2.8 litre diesel unit offered on the Trailblazer is decent when it comes to cabin insulation. It's not as loud as the Endeavour. It's not as quiet as the Fortuner. It's somewhere in the middle. If you're cruising in the city or on the highway, then the engine is fairly quiet. But once you rev a little too much, the engine does make its presence felt into the cabin. On the inside, the Trailblazer is again non-flashy. The center console is neatly laid out, and every vent or button on the dash has a space crafted for it. The cabin does not seem to go over the top in terms of either design or bling. In fact, the round dial for the aircon controls adds a bit of old school flavor, but is not a design that will hold its charm for too long. There is a 7-inch touchscreen infotainment system which houses controls for Bluetooth, audio and other functions. It doubles up as reverse camera screen. But a huge problem that I've faced with it is that you cannot adjust the brightness of the monitor. And during the day, the screen seems kind of pointless. There is ample space for small things in the cabin. There is also little storage under the steering. Cup holders slide out of both corners of the dash, and bottle holders are enough. An added cool glove box would have been appreciated. There are two 12-watt sockets in the front. This new Trailblazer comes with a lot of features inside the cabin. It comes with a host of safety features as well. There are dual front airbags, there's traction control, there's ABS with EBD, there's hill start assist, there's hill descent assist, there's panic brake control. All in all, Chevy has packed it with quite a lot of safety features to make you feel comfortable and safe on the road. The second row of seats are comfortable. Boasting of the longest wheelbase in this segment, the space is obviously a lot. They come with good under-thigh support and cushioning as well too. Well, in a 7-seater, the maximum number of queries that we get are actually about the third row. This is a 7-seater, and let's get into the third row to see how it is. Well, it's quite easy to flip this seat up, and then you climb onto the stepboard and get inside the third row. I'm going to pull this seat. Well, it's fairly decent. It is, as you can see there, my knees are still not touching the second row of bench here, which is nice. There is, could have been a little more, but the under thigh support is much better than
that in other SUVs you get your own cup holders, you get your own third row AC vent. Well, it is a very decent space in the third row.
With all 3 rows up, which means traveling full house, the boot might seem a tad small. But there are multiple options in which the seats can be adjusted and space can be made for luggage.
Well, Chevy is making a comeback with the Trailblazer, and it's a much needed comeback because in this segment earlier they had the Captiva, which didn't really manage to make an impact. Now we would have appreciated had it come with a 4x4 version and a manual transmission, but that for now is on hold for the Indian market. All you're going to get is this 4x2 automatic version. It looks butch, it looks heavy, it looks quite tall, and it is going to be launched early October. Prices will obviously be revealed then, which is going to play a very important role to really figure out if it can have that impact. For now, the product looks quite promising.
Do subscribe to the CarDekho YouTube channel for all automotive updates and latest launches.